Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm William Flick. I'm sitting in for Tom D'Ambra today. Today is the 21st of November. And Tom's got a personal problem today. I wish him well with it, and I hope we all keep him in our prayers. I want to get to some of the stuff going on in the news media, which is pretty criminal. Yeah, they couldn't be more biased, but we don't get news anymore. I look back in old clips I have of news, and people have taken sides, and there's no room for debate anymore. And the big deal is with Trump, and at first it was the stolen emails. They just sent Roger Stone they're sending him to prison for possession of stolen emails. The strange part about the stolen emails is they weren't stolen. Now, Donna Brazile, in her book, she's the head of the Democratic National Committee. She has a book out. In her book, she says that they need to open up the Seth Rich case. They need to reopen the Seth Rich case. Now, why does she say that? She's saying that because Seth Rich was murdered. And who is Seth Rich? Seth Rich was the DNC technical advisor. He was their digital computer guy. And Seth Rich was for Bernie Sanders. And when he saw what they did to Bernie and how they stole the election, the nomination from him, Seth Rich got upset with it and was going to go. Had made an appointment to talk to people in Congress. He never made it. They shot him 4 times in the back. Sounds like he was Arkancided. And people in the know what I'm talking about. Now, Assange put out a $25,000 reward for information leading to the murderer of Seth Rich. And Assange said there was no state actors. But they won't bring Assange. Instead, they're filling him full of drugs where they have him. And he can hardly talk now. Or he could clean this whole thing up. He could clear it up. Because if he were to say that Seth Rich gave him those, they wouldn't be stolen. Seth Rich, if they were stolen, Seth Rich had authority to have all those documents. If he didn't, nobody did, because he was the insider on their equipment. So the whole thing is a charade. We're in the middle of a civil war that's going on with information. And most people out there, they want to believe their television. Why? Because they can't be bothered being upset or having to challenge anything. Everything's so easy in this world, especially in Vermont. You just go down and they grease your palm, you go get a lawyer, you got disability, Let me tell you something. At 18 years old, I had a blood infection. I was in the service, Vietnam era. I volunteered. I was in the service. I had the blood infection. My eye, a blood vessel burst. I could have been on disability at 18. 18. I see people doing this around, we're in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. I see people, this is their goal in life, what I had handed to me. at 18. I didn't want it. I had hopes and dreams. I'm a musician. I still play. I've been playing for 55 years. Never made any money. Lost a lot of money. I'm an artist, not a commercial artist. I play blues, and I write a lot of songs. I've written songs about what's going on. But to get back to what, this is why nobody, it's too easy. They can just watch their television and everything's right there, telling them how to think, and that's exactly what they're doing. And the thing is, they pretend. The people on the left are pretending that they're looking for, justice. Justice? Justice? Their guys on the left can do anything criminal and get away with it because the media plays it up that way. But all their opponents, they can't get it. The odd thing is they're investigating Trump. Trump can't turn around and investigate them, although he has the authority to. If he does, he's a criminal now, according to all these minimally informed people. The only information you people have out there is probably from your television. And believe me, they have you by your nose leading you around big time. Big time. How about this Jeffrey Epstein deal, huh? 800,000 kids go missing in the United States each year. You think some of them might have made it into Jeffrey Epstein's possession? Now, ABC News 3 years ago had a story about Epstein and how him and Hillary Clinton were in cahoots to blackmail political people. Sounds about right. But you know what ABC News, the news that you guys all believe in, and CBS and NBC, NBC is the biggest arms builder in the world. The ABC spiked the story and fired the reporter. So the reporter went to CBS. They found out why she lost her last, and they got rid of her. So they got to make sure that nobody tells that story. All right. So and what was she was just telling what I knew. I've known about Epstein 10, 15 years. I kept wondering, when are they going to go after him? But you got to know that the people high up are into that kind of stuff. Not only that kind of stuff, a lot of them are satanic. And that sounds bizarre to people, especially people that don't believe in anything. Oh, come on. These guys are after money. Well, let me tell you something. They don't need money. They own the money system. All they need is power. And if they can get you to borrow their money, they own you too. This is how it works. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, in the 90s, I was listening on shortwave radio to a gentleman named Ted Gunderson, agent-in-chief of Las Vegas area, the district. He was an FBI agent in charge of Las Vegas. Ted Gunderson talked all about how they were running kids from Boys Town, boys and girls, to Washington, D.C., a guy with the last name of King, a black man. I can't think of his first name, maybe Lawrence or Frederick, but that's irrelevant. He did 15 years, so he's out running around. He's probably back in the business. But they put him in jail for 15 years. Ted Gunderson sent me a video of testimony by children that he had tortured and satanic ritual abuse of children. So this is what you're up against, ladies and gentlemen. You're up against Satanists that run the world and have you trapped in a money system, and they feed you to bullcrap on their corporate television services. And you buy it. You buy it because you don't care about your kids. You don't care about right and wrong. After all, everything's just a matter of opinion. Everything's just an opinion now. I wrote a song. You know what? Is it opinion when it's death and tax? Does water freeze at 32 degrees? Does the sun come up in the east? Is there anything that's true? Is there anything that's natural? Hardly anymore. There's no natural anything. Well, I have a book here. Words That Make America Great. All right. Well, I like to tell people that our country is based on natural law, barter, free enterprise, things that would happen with or without government. When we first got here and we created our country, we were trading on the land. They changed that. They changed us to corporations, and we're trading in commerce. Commerce is over the sea. We're not trading over the sea. We're still on land. You think they did a switch on us? They talk in the Declaration of Independence about foreign jurisdictions. That's where we are. We're in foreign jurisdictions. Admiralty jurisdiction when we enter a courtroom. You have to prove you're innocent, not the other way around. Now, it says, the political bonds such have connected them with another, talking about us to Britain, and assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal stations by which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle us. Entitle us. Nature's God, the laws of nature. That's what they believed in. Here's something else, too. People keep telling me about democracy. Article 4, Constitution, Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government. Article 4, Section 4. Not democracy. Do you get it? You're brainwashed. Pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic. Republic. You're brainwashed. And you don't care. You don't care. You're going to leave this hellhole, and believe me, it is hell, to your children. You're going to let them suffer. You're going to let them not be free. I haven't been free a day in my life. We've been owned and operated since I was born. I'm 70 years old. Now, this stuff, I don't know a lot about Republicans. I mean, I know about the Bush's criminality, but I don't know too much about other Republicans. I do know about Bill Clinton, though, and I'm sure Hillary knew all about all of this stuff. They're both in cahoots. I'm sure they don't leave a detail out when they're talking to each other. In Mena, Arkansas, there was a airstrip. Bill Clinton was letting them fly drugs in from Central America into Mena. It may still even be operating for all I know. Now, they had a pilot named Barry Seal. He put the finger on Clinton and Bush Sr., H.W., back in the 90s, and they murdered Seal. They murdered him. Clinton was operating with Bush Sr., George Sr., and Oliver North. They were operating out of the White House. See? Republicans, Democrats, but you don't care. You don't care. The Republicans, they'll give you everything for free, so they're your guys. That's your politics. The politics of envy and covetous. That's your politics. All that matters to you, a lot of you, is just feather in your bed. The heck with that. Ask not what you can do for your self, but ask what you can do for your country. What your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. What Kennedy said during his inauguration. People laugh at you now if you think that way. They think you're crazy. The United States, we got to bring it down. It's a criminal entity. Yeah, it's a criminal entity. It's like, oh, we treated the blacks so terrible. You don't think they had wars in Africa? You don't think they had wars in America before we got here? Human nature is left out of the equation. We are being blamed for being human and having human nature. Oh, I'm a white man. I have human nature. Oh, blacks and the American Indians didn't have. No, people in India, China, they don't have human nature either. We are brainwashed. But don't look at me. I don't buy any of it. And Donald Trump, he's not a Republican. Donald Trump is a sheriff. He came to town to try to arrest them. You know what they did? They tied his hands up for 3 years. And now they're still doing it with more garbage. He has the authority to go after criminality. Politics does not come above law. Law. Let me see you vote that one out. You bet I'm mad. All I have are ignoramuses all around me. People that are foolish, that don't want to look into anything. They can hardly read. I gave a guy a book. I gave him about 6 months. He couldn't even get past 3 chapters. And he didn't understand any of it. I have to deal with ignorant people all the time, and I'm sick of it. The people in Vermont are as ignorant as a box of rocks. The government is playing you. We don't have any children to work anywhere. Why? Why don't we have children? Well, here. Let's look at what they've done. First, let me finish this thing on Mena here. All right, so we have an Arkansas State policeman named Russell Welch who was looking into the Clintons and the Bushes. He kept having the U.S. government come in and shut down his investigation. Phil Duncan, an IRS agent, looking into Mena. The marshals, U.S. Marshals came in and shut down his investigation. I've never heard of that happening. The IRS usually, because they are the bankers, investigators, usually they're the ones that have the upper hand, okay? Jean Duffy, the state police drug czar, in an interview said she left the state of Arkansas. She fled the state because there was a contract out on her. Did the press tell you any of this? No. This is the press you believe. This is the press you believe. I'm sick of you people. If you see me out in public, don't talk to me. Don't you dare talk to me. I'm sick of ignorant people. I'm not calling names, I'm stating facts. I've read this book through and through. I've read thousands of books. I'm supposed to believe that I'm not educated and you watch TV and you are. Okay? So these people that couldn't investigate the Clintons. All right, here are the people that died when they knew about the drug running through Mena. Kevin Ives, Don Henry, Keith Comey, Boone Bearden, Keith McCaskill, Greg Collins, Jeff Rhodes, Richard Winters, Jordan Kettleson. Kevin Ives and Don Henry were only 16-year-old kids. They found them on a railroad tracks after they had seen them drop the drugs. You bet I'm upset. I'm upset that people are as stupid as they are, really. I'm driving cab in town here. And the police come to me and say, you're bringing a lot of people to a certain house on a certain street. But they wouldn't tell me the number of the house. They couldn't because it was under investigation. But I knew what they were talking about. But I didn't see any police cars there. And I kept going by and looking at the phone poles. There were no cameras that I could tell. So I said to the cop, how did you know? I never see any cars watching there. He goes like this. We're on top of it. So, I know a couple of cops in town, a couple of deputies. So I go to another cop, works the overnight shift, I think. And I said, we're in a surveillance state, aren't we? I said, the shows on TV, all the police shows, they go to a guy in a computer room, and he has all the cameras in the whole town, and they can mess with the lights and hook up to satellites. And I said, do they have that ability in St. Johnsbury? He says, I have access to that. It's compartmentalized. I don't know much about it, but I do have access. They have access. What else are they doing? I can only tell you, back before the phones, they used to be able to, you could hang up your landline. They could jump the hang up and listen to you. What do you think they can do now? I mean, these guys are nuts. DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Program Agency. These people are nuts. These people are out of their minds. They are planning on separating and creating a breakaway society. They're going to leave you in the dark. You ever see The Time Machine? The Eloi and the Morlocks? Yeah. That's what they're doing. They're creating, they're going to use us as their food, as their energy. They're creating robots as fast as they can, so they don't have to even put up with us anymore. Okay? Now, there's a few places. I don't know if you're new to this. I want you to realize about a few things. The Bohemian Grove. If you have a pencil, write it down. Bohemian Grove. I want you to look it up on the internet. They claim they sacrificed children there to a god called Moloch. It's out of the Bible. It's out of the Bible. Leviticus 20-12. Chapter, verse. Yeah. The Pharisees used to throw their children at a fire and sacrifice them to Moloch in the forest, in the grove. It's in a grove and outside of San Francisco, 75 miles. I know a guy here in town that's been there, and everything I say is true. He wasn't there during the cremation of Care, where they actually, they claim it's an effigy of a child, but I'm sure they sacrifice children there. This is an ancient religion. And our world leaders go there. Yeah. The Canadians, Mexicans, Europeans, they all go. They all go. Second thing I'd like you to know about is the Georgia Guidestones. Georgia Guidestones. Write these things down. Look them up. You'll find out I'm not telling you any lies. I'm trying to inform you. Do you want to be informed, or you just want to be stupid all your life. I know it's a big deal. It's a lot to look into. But if you don't look into it, things are going to keep getting worse. They're going to keep tricking you and keep tricking you with the more and more goodies. Oh, oh. And all the scam artists in town will be going, oh, yeah, hey. They're all telling me how I get so many people, hey, you should do this, and you can call this, and you know what I want? I want to take care of myself. That's all I've ever wanted. I made it to 70. I don't need the government. I don't need their help. I'd like to get paid back the over $70,000 I poured into their Social Security system. I have to tell you, when they got at least 20 to 25% of that money was worth 10 times the value in buying power. I'm sure they're not paying me back in that. They're paying me back in 10 cents on the dollar. So it should take them about, to pay back the buying power after the inflation, it'd be like probably $350,000 worth of buying power they owe me. I'll never see that. I'd have to live to 100. Okay, so Georgia Guidestones. That's where they tell you they want to get rid of 80% of the population. 80%. Okay. All right. You can go and look up the bankruptcy of the United States. The bankruptcy of the United States. A speech made by a patriotic Democrat. That's an oxymoron, isn't it? He was, though. James Traficant, a very big patriot. Traficant made this speech. They put him in jail for 7 years. Why? You're not supposed to tell anybody about the bankruptcy of the United States. He was a sheriff. I'm sure he took an oath not to do that. I know. I explained to a retired lawyer I know, corporate lawyer, about the bankruptcy and how it changed our lawful status when we deal with the courts. We went from sovereign individual owners of the country to corporate citizens with privileges granted by government, not rights granted by God. That's what they think. I got news for them. I haven't surrendered to them yet. I believe in God. God is my focus, not the government of Satan. I want you to go and read the bankruptcy of the United States and realize that every lawyer takes an oath not to divulge the bankruptcy and how it changed your lawful status, how it removed your ability to own things. They own everything. They own you. That's what they think. You have no idea how much the money is a trick. The money is a trick. They have it all worked out in their deviant minds, so you can't go into their courts because they own the courts. They have it all worked out. I'll tell you what I want you to do, though. When you go in front of a judge, I want you to pull your collar up while you go up in front of them. Then I want you to stand with your feet, your ankles together, and your feet going out like that. Going out. You're on the square. You go up like that, you stand like that, and then you hang your hand, 3 fingers, put a hand over it at your crotch, and keep looking slowly over your left shoulder. What am I revealing to you? The criminality of the courts. They're in the courts doing signs. It's like you're in a baseball game. What I just showed you is a Mason in distress. I'll probably die for that, okay? You go into court and try that and see. You might not get away with it with a jury, but you will get away with it when the judge has last word. I'll tell you something else you can try too, if you got enough chutzpah, because I don't think too many in St. Johnsbury do. They're big with guns and knives, but they ain't got any backbone. No, I won't bother you with what you can do in the courtroom. Too stupid to do anything anyways. Now, there's something else right out of the JFK library. John Kennedy, I can't remember the date, before he died, went to the press club in Washington, D.C., and gave a speech on secret societies and how we reject secrecy, and asked the press to alert the population about the conspiracy, the word he used, the conspiracy that's going on in the world against government, against all things good. And he needed your help. And he wanted the press to wake you up, to alert you. They never did it. And next thing you know, he's dead. Gee, I wonder who did it. Now let's don't, your little Mason buddy down the street, third degree or whatever it is, they don't know. The G lodges, they're all, it's a club. It's like a church, really. I mean, at the highest levels, after 33rd degree, the Committee of 300, Committee of 12, Committee of 5. They're satanic, they're Luciferian. How do I know that? The people, Manly P. Hall, Albert Pike, they openly write books about it. They were both high Masons. Committee of 300 let Gorbachev have his foundation in the Presidio in San Francisco. Gorbachev. The committee, he thanked the Committee of 300 in his opening speech at his foundation. Now, what we got in town and in the world, we have neo-Christians. We have new Christians. See, what we have are social justice warrior Christians. Social justice? In whose eyes? In yours? This is the problem with people today. There's no law. There's no natural law. There's no God's law. There's no constitutional law. It's all my opinion. My opinion is all that counts. Everything's an opinion. Well, then stop breathing. You don't need air. It's only an opinion. There are truths in the world. You gotta get out of their opinion. That's over. There are truths in this world. The sun comes up in the east. You have to go to the bathroom pretty regular, don't you? Those are truths. You have to eat every day. That's a truth. You have to breathe. Now, what we got is, we got people that, the governor, I used to call him Scumlin. Shumlin. He used to call people that believed in their Bible religious bigots. In other words, there's no right and wrong. And I'll explain this to you. I know people that are social justice warriors all over town. Plenty of them. All they've done on the left is taken everything that's evil. Everything that's evil, and create a political party. Instead of right and wrong, it's right and left. No, everybody that's a Democrat does. They think a lot of people think they're, fighting the establishment. Well, the left is the establishment. The bankers created communism. Oh, the bankers are capitalists. No, they're not. The bankers are controllers. They're not capitalists. Capitalists create things and sell them. The bankers give you your credit. How did they get my credit? The bankruptcy. The government delivered you into their hands, gave them you. Through the bankruptcy, you are owned by the government. That's nice, huh? And my social justice buddies out there, well, I'll take just anything. Well, you know, this is how they do it. They enable. Oh, you poor thing. You poor thing, we're on your side. They enable. And then they reach out to the churches and the government and individuals to help subsidize the evil. And then when they can get it established, mainstream, they celebrate the evil. They celebrate evil. Enable, subsidize, and celebrate evil. And I'll explain this to you. The old Christianity, let's take a look at Christ. What's he do? This is where they get their ideas. Hung out in the taverns, knew the thieves, went to the cross with it. Barabbas went to the cross with a thief next to him. Was he a thief? No. What was he doing in the taverns? There were prostitutes in there. I'll tell you what he was doing. He was preaching the gospel of the kingdom. But today's neo-Christians, they don't go into taverns and preach the gospel of the kingdom. They hand knives to the thieves. Here, let's enable and subsidize, and we'll celebrate later with a bunch of drinks when you get back with all your stolen loot. Here's your knife. And to the prostitute, I'm sure Christ was pimping them, right? This is how you people think now. You enable, subsidize, and celebrate evil. Let's look at the evil you celebrate. How about divorce? Divorce. You enable, subsidize, and celebrate it. Look at what they're doing. You turn TV on, every show's about rape. They're teaching men, young men, they've been doing this for 50, 60 years. They're teaching them to be animals. And then they teach the women to hate them. And what do you see? Fewer people, fewer people, fewer people. Oh, you think that that's not the outcome they want? That is the outcome they want. All right, so let's move. The next thing, abortion. They want fewer people. That's real simple. You'll help them out. What a convenient way to get rid of people you don't want. And I have to tell you something. In my early days, I was involved in a couple of them. I had girlfriends. They wanted a life. I said, well, I'm going to continue to be, a worker and a musician, so I'm not going to be a rich man. And on that cue, boom, gone. Children. I'm ashamed of it. Where else do they go? Homosexuality. And that's a big one. Transgenderism. Oh, this is all Look, the Ninth Amendment says you can be whatever you want. Free will says you can be whatever you want. But enabled, subsidized, and celebrated by the people around you, that's not supposed to happen. I carry guilt over abortion. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, don't listen to psychiatrists. If you listen to them, you can go on and do whatever you want. Mass murder, That's the game they play. They don't know what they're talking about. I've had a bunch of, I had one after, I was drunk driving 35 years ago, or 30 years ago or whatever, and they had to chase me. They said, you're going to have to go see a psychiatrist for a year. Probation. 3 months later, the psychiatrist dropped me. I said, why? He says, if I listen to you, I'll question everything in my life. See, ladies and gentlemen, I ain't no BSer. I ain't filling you full of crap. I'm an honest man. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to screw you over. As a matter of fact, the people that have played in my band, they always made more money than me. Isn't that ridiculous, huh? I made sure the people that worked for me got paid first. And that's the way business is, with people that have integrity. All right, from homosexuality, transgenderism, we move on over to euthanasia. It's creeping in. It's creeping in. What I am explaining to you is the slippery slope of the disintegration of civilization. Divorce, abortion, homosexuality, euthanasia. What do you think is next? And we see it in the news with Epstein. And believe me, it's way bigger than just him. They murdered him. They're saying that now. What's next? Pedophilia. New York Times had a pro-pedophilia commentary one time in its paper. Salon.org, same deal. The people at the top are pedophiles. A lot of them. A lot of them. This guy, pencil neck, the Adam Schiff, he's into some kind of funky stuff, wears robes, does rituals. You can count on him being a weirdo. You go and you put your faith in the government. The government is a fraud at this point. If we don't take it back, it ain't real. It's not real. But you keep going along with them for your stuff. Keep going. Keep going. Now let's go down to media. Let's go through the media. Huh? How about the media lies? The Oklahoma City bombing. There's a good lie. They want you to believe that a truck was in front of a building and one of the piers in the building was still standing, but the other side of the pier in the back corner of the building was a hole, a bomb hole. How did a bomb hole get in the back corner past the partition that was in front of it? And the hole in front of the building, I have video footage of. The investigators are standing in it, and you can see about 6 inches below their knees. The hole ain't no more than 1.5 feet. But the hole in the back of the corner of the building is deep, and the whole building came down. How did that happen? How did that happen? A little bit of lying going on in the footage of the scene there. The news is reporting that they're in disassembling bombs, other bombs they found in a building that miraculously disappear, and it's only the truck bomb that was there. Ladies and gentlemen, you are being had. This may be my last time I can do this. I'm trying to wake you up. It's getting scary out here. Not to you, because you go, yes, sir. Just give me some more. I'll go along. Okay, how about the Gulf of Tonkin? Never happened. They brought us into war with that. 500,000. They upped the ante. Ship them over to die. Who did that? Johnson. Democrat. Warmonger. Criminal. I saw him interviewed after he was out of office. He called the CIA and the United States government Murder Incorporated. How about 9/11? I know the Saudis, the French were in on it. The French were here taping it, videotaping it, and the Mossad, they caught them on a building cheering when it happened. There were plenty of governments involved. And why would they be all involved? That was the birth of their New World Order. Now, they could use that false flag event and point at you if you tried to stop them from overthrowing a foreign government and say, you're with the terrorists. Oh, no. Yeah, you're either with the terrorists, or you're a racist, or you're a bigot, or you're a homophobe, or you know. It's all intimidation. It's all being done to intimidate you. So you don't think freely. Ooh, ooh. If they call you a bigot, it's an honor. It's an honor. To be in today's world and not be, you better be a bigot. You know what a bigot is? Someone that hates people because of their political point of view. Well, let me tell you something. If you don't hate Democrats, you're in a world of trouble. And I'm not talking just about Democrats. Neocons, rhinos. You got about, in the government, you got about 30-40% that actually believe in our government. Our government's a criminal government. No. It's criminal, all right. It is. De facto. De facto. Okay? KAL 007. You ever hear of it? They flew Larry McDonald off into the sunset and into Russia. And who was he? He wanted to get us out of the United Nations. Okay? Project Paperclip. They brought the Nazis over after World War II. Who did? Prescott Bush, the grandfather of W. He was caught hiding Hitler's money on Wall Street in Union Banking division of Brown Brothers Harriman. How about Albert Gore Sr.? Did they tell you about that? See, they didn't tell you any of the stuff I'm telling you. Albert Gore Sr. was the CEO of Occidental Petroleum, the largest oil company in Russia during the Cold War. How about the CIA drug running? Did they tell you about that? I have friends that tell me about that. I had a friend in Da Nang who told me he witnessed them coming in putting bricks of heroin in the body bags. You ever see American Gangster? That's it. That's the other end of it. So they don't tell you anything in the news. The gold, they created the Soviet Union. The gold, the Tsar's gold was in the New York banks, the Chicago banks. They sent 20 million of that gold back to bolster the Bolshevik Revolution. I was looking into the Great Depression. I was at when they got Roosevelt and he got sworn in March. It wasn't in January at the time, March of 33. In May of 33, I found him sending $300 million in the congressional record, $300 million to build a truck factory for the Russian army, and it's 1933, getting ready for World War II. We were building it for them in the middle of a Great Depression. Did they tell you? Did they tell you about the bankruptcy? How they own you? All right, so they build Ford builds a truck factory in 33 in Gorky. In 69, they built a truck factory in the Kama River Basin in the Soviet Union, and they were building them for the North Vietnamese army. And who was doing it? Ford, GM, and Fiat. Now, when I heard Westmoreland, the general who oversaw the Vietnam War, I heard him in a speech say, we wanted to bomb the military in the North Vietnamese, but they parked all their military equipment next to the oil depots owned by Rothschild. So the UN told the American government they can't bomb those oil depots. The owners of the world, and who owns you, who you're fighting for, owns those depots, so you can't do that. Nice, huh? This is too confusing for most of you people, huh? Too many drugs. Too much. Go get a beer. Now, I'm not against you doing anything. I'm not condemning you. But let's get our head out of our butt and start learning what's going on. This is incredible. It's just, here. Here's a book, Compromised. Terry Reid, one of the pilots that worked with Barry Seal. Talks all about Clinton and Bush and North, all the heroes. The heroes on the left, the heroes on the right. How about this story? This is a good one. Top military pathologist. Brown may have been murdered. Ron Brown, the Commerce Secretary under Clinton. They found particles of of a bullet they considered to be a CO2 bullet, a frozen ice bullet, CO2. Right down the top of his head. Now, London Review of Books. It's written by Seymour Hersh. Seymour Hersh tells a story in this London Review of Books. It's called Military to Military. How Obama and Hillary wanted our Air Force to shoot down the Russian planes. Okay? Flynn wouldn't go for it. Michael Flynn, the guy they screwed, he wouldn't go for it. He told Obama, we are not ISIS's Air Force. And let me tell you something about ISIS. And this goes out to black people. If there's anybody black watching this show, you think Obama is pro-black? Let me tell you what he did to Africa. I have two sources on this story, three actually. A married couple named the Moriartys, Walter Fauntleroy, F-A-U-N-T-R-O-Y, Walter Fauntleroy, ex-DC representative. And the other source, a woman by the name of Lidie Denier, L-Y-D-I-E-D-E-N-I-E-R. She's French, denier, Lidie Denier. Lidie Denier was Ambassador Chris Stevens, who died in Benghazi. She was his fiance. She said they killed him because he wouldn't give the weapons to ISIS. And he was telling her how they were making him do it. And then he ended up dead. Fauntleroy says he was there helping Gaddafi to build a central bank for Africa based on the 134 tons of gold that Gaddafi had. Okay? Now you think about that. A bank, a central bank for Africa that the Africans would have, and the money would be backed by gold with all the natural resources in Africa. Can you imagine how rich black people would be with that? And what do you think Obama did? Mr. Black, Mr. Brother Man. He sent ISIS in to kill Gaddafi and steal the gold. A real brother, huh? Really cares about black people, huh? When are you going to wake up? You're being had. I'm sick of it. I could go on for weeks telling these things. How much did you get out of the news? Not much, did you? They don't tell you anything. They won't tell you anything. So, what I'm trying to tell you is, you're all in the dark. And until you take it upon yourself to become educated, ain't nobody going to do it for you. I mean, Tom and I have been doing this for quite a while. I've been doing this, coming in here to substitute for him for 9 years, doing shows with him. Now, I'm not a violent person. I am not. And I am not calling for an uprising. I'm calling for an education. I'm calling for you to go out and start looking into this stuff. You can go to the internet. It's all over it. It's all over it. I don't know where, I don't want to tell you where to go. You could try looking into the congressional record. Definitely go to the bankruptcy of the United States. Talks all about how they use our birth certificates as collateral for the loans. James Traficant, Dennis Kucinich, Cynthia McKinney, Wellstone, Paul Wellstone, those people were patriots. They were the last patriots, with the exception of Tulsi Gabbard in the Democratic Party, the last patriots to the Constitution. Oh, they'll tell you they love the Constitution. The Constitution isn't in place. The law of the sea, the Commerce Clause is all they go under in the Constitution. They just regulate our trade, and that's all they're doing. That's the only constitutional thing they're doing, and that's what they'll tell you. So I'm going to wind this up right now. I'm hoping and praying that Tom does all right today in his endeavor. And whatever you do, if you're a liberal and you're in St. Johnsbury and you see me, don't talk to me. I don't need garbage in my ears. So you have a good night, and thank you for listening.
Got to read between the lines. Got to read between the lines. Well, the truth is very simple, very hard to find.